Hello, Tess here. So I want to continue today to talk to you a little bit about mercury in itself and specifically mercury in dentistry. I also want to just touch a little bit on dental health in general, because it's something that's quite often overlooked in the big scheme of our holistic health and wellness programs. So let's get on to mercury, and I must say to you, it's quite interesting, this whole mercury debate. In Australia, our dental association actually accepts that mercury is toxic, but they still support the use of amalgam, the silver fillings, in dentistry. And so a very, very large number, in fact, by far the majority of dentists are still using the silver fillings in our children and adults when a filling is required for the bigger teeth, usually the little grinders at the back there. That's, I don't know, that's just not good from my perspective and from what I see in my clinic space. Anyway, we'll talk a little bit more about it. The other thing is in some of our Scandinavian countries and in Japan, mercury in dentistry is banned. So, they know something we don't. It's actually banned. So, I don't know exactly what to think about all of that. So just to give you a bit of information, amalgam is actually made up of 50% or more mercury, and then the other, let's say 50% or so, is made up of other metals, and this could be silver and copper and tin, and then a little bit of zinc goes in as well. So you've got this mixture of metals in your mouth, with by far the largest percentage of being mercury, but it's this mixture that's called amalgam or a silver filling. Okay, so I sometimes say silver or mercury filling or amalgam. I'm talking about the same thing. So an interesting thing that I've read up on, and it's sort of the research literature suggests that a child who has 2 fillings or an adult with 4 fillings will have, together with our exposure, I guess, to mercury in fish and just the daily exposures in air and water, wherever we're exposed to mercury, consumer products, etc. 2 for a child, 2 fillings, and 4 for an adult would be actually push a person over the safe dose. Now, to me, there's no safe dose of mercury, to be honest, because it doesn't belong in our bodies, right? Anyway, yes, I consider that. And then the other one I've come across is that, mercury is very poisonous to the kidneys as well, very much to the brain, but to the kidneys as well. And it's considered to be so damaging to the kidneys that someone with, let's say, 8 fillings of silver fillings over a lifetime could actually kill 50% of their kidney cells, which is a real worry. Okay, so let's quickly talk a little bit about this amalgam. How does the mercury get into our system through the teeth? Well, research suggests that after about 5 years of this, you remember now you've got 50% mercury in an amalgam filling. After about 5 years, that percentage goes down to 28, around about 28%. So what's happened to 22%? Just about half of your mercury. What's happened to it? This is what's happened to it. When you eat and you grind your teeth, and you are eating hot and warm food and drinks, and you're brushing your teeth, and there's this friction going on, the mercury vaporizes. And when it vaporizes, you can breathe it in, It goes into the lungs, it goes into the bloodstream, and then it crosses over your blood-brain barrier. So it goes into the brain and into the pituitary gland, which we know has got your hormones are controlled through there. Okay, and then basically it will find its way around the body as well, kidneys, thyroid, the gut, and it just sort of attaches to, it loves fatty tissue, by the way. The heart gets affected as well. And we're just continuously eating and drinking and grinding and our teeth, and so these mercury vapors are actually released constantly. There's a YouTube clip, and I haven't checked it out just then, but go have a look. I think it's called Smoking Teeth, and it shows you the research. There's a big BBC video on it as well that will show you what happens when you take an amalgam filling on a tooth and the guy rubs it with the back of a pencil eraser, and it will show you the smoke, the vapor, the mercury vapor that actually comes off. It's very fascinating. It's a fascinating documentary as well. So what are the things that can happen and I see some of this in my clinic quite often as well. Well, I look at it in terms of people who come in here with psychological, neurological, immune system issues, hormonal problems, people with chronic conditions, people with anxiety, people with depressive states, people with poor memory and insomnia, headaches and migraines and fibromyalgia and pain, just, pain in their system, heart problems, people with thyroid issues, MS, just anyone really who comes in here. And people with food allergies as well, especially milk, people with Alzheimer's. These are people with mercury in their system. And that's just, it just is. I find it in everyone. Just the amounts and the level of toxicity, I think, would be different. I don't personally measure the amounts here, but I've got ways to have that, done, the testing done. So, yeah, it's just across the board. Everyone is unwell. An interesting one that I find here is I had someone come in with a burning tongue, and there were high levels of mercury in this person, and why that is because mercury actually it attaches to the nerve endings, and then it travels on the axons of the nerves, and so of course in the mouth the tongue is highly populated with blood vessels, and it's innervated. It's got a lot of nerves there. So the burning tongue was an interesting one for the specific client. So let's talk a little bit about what happens when you have these metals in your mouth, other than the fact that boom, into the brain and into the nervous system and into the spinal cord. So that's where its major effect is. But in the mouth, when you've got metals in the mouth, it creates like a battery effect. It's like an galvanic effect. And when you've got this battery effect with all these different metals in your mouth through amalgam fillings, the mercury is released even faster, and it causes these energetic disturbances, especially in the brain. Okay? Yeah, it's just, it just leads to emotional irregularities and mood stuff, and just it's psychological issues, to be honest. And one of the things that I find is even a stronger exposure to mercury is when people have, on top of the mercury, they also have gold. So if there's gold in their mouth together with mercury, tenfold effect of the mercury is higher release, higher exposure. And then the other thing that mercury does, it affects your acid alkaline balance in your mouth, and the higher acidity. So we know that when we've got an acidic environment, and now you think about your teeth, acid will release calcium, so you'll actually lose calcium from your teeth, as well as the acidity becomes a really, really conducive environment, a little happy environment, perfect for bacterial growth and dental decay to take place. So yeah, there's a lot of things that happen with mercury in the teeth and the amalgams. But let's quickly have a chat and maybe finish up on this. Just talking generally about teeth. And I'll tell you what the thing is that I find most disturbing, aside from the fact that we've got this voltage battery effect going on, is I can test people through quantum reflex analysis testing. It's like a kinesiology type of test, but it's not a muscle test, it's an energetic test. So when we test teeth, for example, and we do a little bit of a torsion kind of test, it often shows up that root canals show up as a weakness. So it shows up weak in the system, and the reason for that is often and most probably not just trauma, but a hidden infection in that root canal tooth cavity. And so the infections actually sit around the ligament, and it's not really visible on x-rays, but it's there. And then what I find is when I do a little torsion test, I can find out that root canal tooth actually affects the heart point. So when they've got people coming in with heart palpitations or arrhythmias, or just some sort of, or if the point just tests weak, the heart points, then I'm going to find out if there's anything, if it's the meridian where the teeth are connected to all the meridians, by the way. If it's the meridian, if it's a tooth, I often find a dental issue with the heart and a root canal issue. And then when we test what is going to bring the heart point strong, we find that it's an anti-infective herbal. Okay? And the other thing that I will then do is not just bring that strong through an anti-infective herbal that will support the root canal infection and the heart, but I will also do clay packing, and I'll do that in the next video. I'll show you what we do with clay packing to support the release of the toxins, and just to support and strengthen that meridian as well. Okay, so I mean, I've just said a whole lot of stuff now about meridians, and it's very energetic and all of that. I promise you it works. So yeah, we come up with some very interesting things here, and then we do the work through the biocom as well. So just to let you know what happens here is this sort of the root canal infections, it just drips down into the heart, so it can affect the heart muscle, the valves, name it. Okay, so often there's that connection. And in fact, Western Price have done a fair bit of work and research. There's a lot of literature available on the connection between the teeth, specifically root canals, and the heart as well, and chronic conditions in the body. So ending up today, look after your teeth. Okay, I know it's an expensive exercise in Australia, but preventatively you can do so much to look after your teeth. Brushing, the type of, I don't know, I don't even want to say the word fluoride. You've got to make up your mind about it. Pick a natural toothpaste. I believe that's a good way to go. Brush your teeth, eat healthy. Sugar is bad for you. Acidic environment, it's bad for your teeth. And have those amalgams removed if you have amalgams. If you haven't got amalgams, but you think you may have mercury in your system, there's ways that in the next video I'll talk to you about how we can figure out how we can find out if we've got metals and mercury in our system. If you choose to have your amalgams removed, which I hope you do, please do your research and find yourself a dentist who knows what they're doing, and they're doing this with your safety in mind. They've got a system in place that's environmentally safe for removing the amalgams and the mercury, and they've got your safety in mind as well. Okay, do your research. Don't just phone up, have a chat with them, find out who can do this for you. So thank you for joining me today. And in our next video, we're going to talk a little bit more about how we can test for mercury and other heavy and toxic metals, and what we can do to detoxify this from our system. Okay, so I'll see you next time. Thank you for joining me. Bye.